Emma took his offered hand, feeling a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with the man standing beside her. I would like that too. As they returned to the ballroom and Adrian led her onto the dance floor, Emma caught sight of Ryan and Sarah watching from the sidelines. Ryan's face was dark with jealousy, but Emma found she didn't care anymore. She was too focused on the way Adrian's arms felt around her, the way he looked at her like she was precious, the way her heart raced when he pulled her closer. Maybe this had started as fake, but what Emma was feeling now was undeniably real. And that scared her more than anything, the perfect holiday. Over the next 3 weeks, Emma and Adrian became inseparable. They attended holiday parties together, went ice skating in the park, and spent quiet evenings at Adrian's penthouse watching old movies. To the outside world, they were the perfect couple. But between them, something deeper was growing. Emma found herself falling for Adrian in ways she never expected. He was nothing like Ryan. Adrian was thoughtful and considerate, always putting her needs first. He listened when she talked about her design work, offered genuine advice, and celebrated her successes like they were his own. He made her laugh with his dry humor, challenged her opinions in debates about art and politics, and made her feel seen in a way she never had before. But there was something Adrian wasn't telling her. Emma could feel it in the way he sometimes grew quiet and distant, in the way he carefully avoided certain topics about his past, in the phone calls he took in another room with the door closed. She tried to ignore it, telling herself that everyone had secrets, but a small voice in the back of her mind whispered warnings. They were at Adrian's penthouse apartment on Christmas Eve, decorating a tree together, when Emma finally decided to ask. His dark hair. I'm saying that I enjoy your company. More than I should. I find myself looking forward to your calls and texts. I catch myself thinking about you when I should be working. And tonight, when I saw Ryan grab your arm, I wanted to punch him. That's not fake, Emma. That's real. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She should say something, tell him they needed to stick to the plan, remind him that this was just an arrangement. But the words wouldn't come because she felt the same way. Adrian, she began, but he held up a hand. You don't have to say anything, he said quickly. I know this wasn't part of the deal. I just needed you to know, so we could decide how to move forward. Do we end this now, before it gets more complicated? Or do we continue, knowing that the lines are getting blurred? Emma thought about Ryan's jealous face, about how good it felt to show him she had moved on. But more than that, she thought about Adrian. About his kindness, his humor, his strength. About how safe she felt when he was near, how alive she felt when he looked at her. I don't want to end it, she said softly. But I'm scared, Adrian. I just got my heart broken. I don't know if I can trust these feelings. What if they're not real? What if I'm just rebounding, using you to feel better about myself? Adrian moved closer, his hand coming up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. Then we take it slow. We continue the arrangement, but we're honest about what we're feeling. No pressure, no expectations. We see where this goes naturally. If it's real, we'll know. And if it's not, we walk away as friends. How does that sound? Emma smiled, feeling some of the tension ease from her shoulders. That sounds perfect. Good, Adrian said, returning her smile. Now, shall we go back in there and give them a real show? I believe they're about to start the dancing, and I would very much like to hold you in my arms for a few songs. Emma, please, Ryan said, his anger fading into something like desperation. Don't do this. We can work this out. I made a mistake, but we can get past this. Sarah doesn't mean anything to me. Not like you do. For a moment, just a moment, Emma felt a pang of sympathy. This was the man she had loved for 5 years. The man she had planned to spend her life with. But then she remembered the conversation she had overheard, the calculation in his voice as he talked about her father's money, and the sympathy disappeared. Goodbye, Ryan, she said firmly, moving past him. I hope you and Sarah are very happy together. Unexpected feelings. Emma was shaking when she returned to the ballroom. Adrian took one look at her face and immediately led her out to a private balcony, away from the crowd. What happened? He asked, his hands on her shoulders, steadying her. Emma told him about the confrontation with Ryan, how he had accused her of using Adrian for revenge, how he had begged her to come back to him. And what did you say? Adrian asked quietly. I told him to be happy with Sarah, Emma said. I told him we were over, and that you and I had been seeing each other for months. She looked up at Adrian. Was I convincing? Adrian's blue eyes searched her face. Very convincing. Maybe too convincing. What do you mean? I mean, Adrian said carefully, that for a moment there, when you told him about us, I almost believed it myself. You played the part perfectly, Emma. Maybe too perfectly. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Are you saying I should pull back? Be less convincing? No, Adrian said, his hands still on her shoulders. I'm saying that we need to be careful. This was supposed to be simple. Fake a relationship, get revenge, go our separate ways. But somewhere in the past 3 days, something changed. At least for me. Emma stared at him, not sure she had heard correctly. What are you saying, Adrian? He dropped his hands and stepped back, running a hand through. Talk about, Ryan, Emma replied coolly, trying to move around him. He grabbed her arm gently. Please. Just 5 minutes. You owe me that much. Emma almost laughed at his audacity. I owe you? That's rich, considering you were planning to marry me for my father's money while sleeping with my assistant. Ryan had the grace to look ashamed. I know how it looked, but you didn't let me explain. Sarah and I, it's complicated. It seemed pretty simple to me, Emma said, pulling her arm free. You used me. You pretended to love me while planning to take my father's money and run off with Sarah. Did I miss anything? It wasn't like that. Ryan insisted, his voice rising. I do care about you, Emma. I always have. But Sarah and I have history, and when she came back into my life, I got confused. I made mistakes, I know that. But throwing yourself at Adrian Stone isn't going to fix anything. Throwing myself? Emma repeated, anger flaring in her chest. Is that what you think I'm doing? Come on, Emma. You expect me to believe that you just happened to start dating one of the richest men in the city right after we broke up? This is revenge, pure and simple. And it's beneath you. Emma stepped closer to Ryan, her voice low and controlled. You don't get to tell me what's beneath me. Not anymore. Adrian and I had been talking for months before I found you with Sarah. He was patient and respectful, waiting until I was available. Unlike you, who couldn't even wait until after the wedding to betray me. The lie came easily, exactly as she and Adrian had practiced. Ryan's face went red with anger and jealousy. You're lying, he said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. If you had been seeing someone else, I would have known. Would you? Emma asked, raising an eyebrow. You were so busy with Sarah, I doubt you would have noticed if I brought someone home. You saw what you wanted to see, Ryan. A naive girl who would give you everything you wanted without question. And then to Adrian's arm around her waist. Emma watched as shock, confusion, and then unmistakable jealousy flashed across his features. Good, she thought. Now you know how it feels. Playing the perfect couple. Adrian guided Emma through the crowd, introducing her to business associates and friends as his girlfriend. Emma played her part perfectly, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm affectionately, and gazing at him like he was the most fascinating man in the world. And the strange thing was, it didn't feel entirely like acting. Adrian was charming and attentive, making her feel like she was the only woman in the room. He brought her champagne, pulled out her chair at their dinner table, and listened intently when she spoke. If this was fake, he was incredibly good at it. Throughout the evening, Emma could feel Ryan's eyes on her. Every time she looked in his direction, he was watching, his expression growing darker by the minute. Sarah clung to his arm, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, but Ryan barely seemed to notice her. "He's staring again," Adrian murmured in Emma's ear, his breath warm against her skin. "Should we give him something to really stare at?" Before Emma could ask what he meant, Adrian's hand came up to cup her cheek, turning her face toward his. For a moment, she thought he was going to kiss her, and her heart nearly stopped. But instead, he pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, his lips lingering just long enough to seem intimate. "Perfect," he whispered, pulling back with a small smile. His jaw literally dropped. Emma couldn't help but laugh. This was wrong, probably petty, definitely immature. But it also felt incredibly satisfying. The confrontation. Emma was returning from the ladies' room when Ryan intercepted her in the hallway. He looked agitated, his usually perfect hair slightly mussed, like he had been running his hands through it. "Emma, we need to talk," he said, blocking her path. "I don't think we have anything to." "Well, yourself." Adrian smiled and offered his arm. "Ready to make your ex-fiancé regret every decision he's ever made?" "Absolutely." The drive to the gala was quiet but not uncomfortable. Adrian's driver navigated through the city traffic while Emma tried to calm her racing heart. This was it. In a few minutes, she would see Ryan and Sarah for the first time since that devastating night. But this time, she wouldn't be alone. She would have Adrian by her side. "Nervous?" Adrian asked, noticing her fidgeting with her clutch. "Terrified," Emma admitted. "What if this doesn't work? What if Ryan doesn't care?" Adrian reached over and took her hand. The gesture was probably meant to be comforting, but it sent electricity through Emma's entire body. "Trust me, he'll care. Men like Ryan, they don't know what they have until they see someone else appreciating it. And I plan to appreciate you very publicly tonight." The car pulled up to the Grand Hotel where the gala was being held. Photographers lined the red carpet, waiting to capture the arrivals of the city's elite. Emma's stomach churned with anxiety. "Remember," Adrian said softly, helping her out of the car. "We're crazy about each other. We can't keep our eyes off each other. And most importantly, we're happy. Show them how happy you are." Emma nodded, pasting on her brightest smile as Adrian's arm slipped around her waist. The cameras immediately started flashing, photographers calling out Adrian's name and asking who his companion was. Adrian handled it smoothly, introducing Emma as his girlfriend and deflecting more invasive questions with practiced ease. As they walked into the ballroom, Emma spotted Ryan and Sarah almost immediately. They were standing near the bar, Ryan in his tuxedo looking handsome as always, Sarah in a pretty pink dress that Emma had helped her pick out weeks ago. The irony wasn't lost on her. Ryan's eyes found Emma, and his face went pale. His gaze traveled from her face, down her red dress. The first appearance. 3 days later, Emma stood in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear to the charity gala. Everything felt wrong. Too casual, too formal, too desperate, not confident enough. Finally, Jessica, who had insisted on coming over to help, pulled out a stunning red dress that Emma had bought months ago but never worn. "This one," Jessica declared. "It's perfect. Confident, beautiful, and it says I've moved on and I'm better than ever." Emma held the dress up against herself, studying her reflection. The red silk would hug her curves, and the low back was elegant without being too revealing. It was perfect for making a statement. "I still can't believe you're doing this," Jessica said, sitting on Emma's bed. Adrian Stone. "Do you know how many women in this city would kill to be in your position?" "It's not real, Jess," Emma reminded her. "It's just an arrangement. We're helping each other out." Jessica raised an eyebrow. "Have you seen him? The man looks like he was carved by angels. How are you going to fake date someone that gorgeous and not develop real feelings?" Emma turned away, focusing on her makeup. That was a question she had been asking herself for the past 3 days. Every time Adrian called or texted to discuss their plan, she felt a flutter in her stomach that had nothing to do with revenge. But she couldn't afford to develop real feelings. This was business. This was about showing Ryan what he had lost. Nothing more. The grand entrance. At exactly 7 o'clock, Emma's doorbell rang. She took one last look in the mirror, smoothed down her red dress, and opened the door. Adrian stood in the hallway, wearing a perfectly tailored black tuxedo that made him look even more handsome than she remembered. His eyes widened slightly when he saw her, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. "You look stunning," Adrian finally said, his voice deeper than usual. "Thank you," Emma replied, feeling her cheeks warm. "You clean up pretty." Couple completely in love. "We need to know basic things about each other," Adrian said, scrolling through his phone. "Favorite foods, hobbies, how we met. People will ask questions." "How did we meet?" Emma asked. "We can't exactly tell them the truth." Adrian thought for a moment. "We met at an art gallery opening 2 months ago. You were there for work, scouting pieces for a client's home. I was there because I collect art. We struck up a conversation about a painting, exchanged numbers, and have been seeing each other privately ever since." "Why privately?" Emma asked. "Because you were still with Ryan, and I respect that. But when you called me tonight, devastated about what happened, I came immediately. Now that you're free, we can finally be together publicly." Adrian looked pleased with himself. Simple, believable, and it makes me look like the patient, respectful gentleman. Emma had to admit, it was a good story. "What about physical affection? Do we hold hands, or?" "We'll start slow," Adrian said. "Hand-holding, my arm around your waist, maybe a kiss on the forehead or cheek if we need to sell it. Nothing that makes either of us uncomfortable. We're supposed to be in the early, exciting stages of a relationship, so it would be natural to keep most affection somewhat private." "Ground rules?" Emma prompted. Adrian nodded. "Complete honesty with each other. No real romantic involvement, this is strictly business. Either of us can end it at any time. And most importantly, we protect each other's reputation. When this ends, it ends amicably." "Agreed," Emma said. She held out her hand. "Partners in crime?" Adrian shook her hand, his grip warm and firm. Partners in crime. As Emma finally made her way home that night, her phone was still flooded with messages. But now, instead of feeling devastated, she felt determined. Ryan wanted to use her for her father's money? Fine. She would show him exactly what he had lost. Ryan to regret what he had done. She wanted him to see that she was worth more than his schemes and lies. What would this arrangement involve exactly, she asked carefully. Public appearances together, Adrian explained. Dinner dates, charity events, maybe a weekend getaway or two. Nothing inappropriate, just enough to convince people we're a couple. We'd set ground rules, of course. Complete honesty between us, even if we're lying to everyone else. And either of us can end it at any time. Emma hesitated. This was insane. Completely insane. But as she thought about Ryan's face when he saw her with someone like Adrian Stone, she felt a surge of satisfaction that was hard to ignore. How long would this arrangement last, she asked. Through the holidays, Adrian suggested. That's about 6 weeks. Plenty of time to make an impression, but not so long that it becomes complicated. After that, we can have a friendly breakup and go our separate ways. 6 weeks. 6 weeks to show Ryan what he had lost. 6 weeks to hold her head high and prove that she wasn't broken. 6 weeks to make him regret ever betraying her. Okay, Emma heard herself say. I'll do it. Adrian's smile widened, and this time it did reach his eyes. Excellent. I think this is going to be very interesting, Emma Martinez. As they exchanged phone numbers and began discussing the details of their arrangement, Emma felt a strange mixture of excitement and apprehension. She had no idea what she was getting herself into, but for the first time since discovering Ryan's betrayal, she felt something other than pain. She felt powerful. The plan takes shape. Over the next hour, Emma and Adrian sat on that park bench and worked out the details of their fake relationship. They would make their first public appearance together in 3 days at a charity gala that both Ryan and Sarah were expected to attend. Adrian would pick her up, they would arrive together, and they would spend the evening acting like it? Maybe it was the darkness, or the fact that Adrian was a complete stranger, but Emma found herself telling him everything. About Ryan, about Sarah, about the betrayal and the lies. Adrian listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that completely surprised her. "What if I told you I could help you get revenge?" Emma blinked. "What?" Adrian turned to face her fully. "I overheard you mention that your ex-fiancé is using you for your father's money. Men like that, they're predictable. They value status and wealth above everything else. What if you showed him exactly what he lost?" "I don't understand," Emma said, though her heart had started beating faster. "Be seen with me," Adrian said simply. "Let everyone think we're together. Let him see that you've moved on to someone far more successful, far more powerful. Show him that his betrayal didn't break you, it freed you to find something better." Emma stared at him in disbelief. "You're suggesting we fake a relationship?" "Why not? I have my own reasons for needing to appear attached right now. Business reasons. And you clearly want to show your ex that he made a mistake." Adrian's blue eyes gleamed in the lamplight. "We could help each other." "This is crazy," Emma whispered. "We just met. Why would you do this for a stranger?" Adrian smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Let's just say I understand what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trust. And I don't like seeing good people get hurt by selfish ones. Besides, this arrangement would benefit me too. My board has been pressuring me to settle down, to show I'm stable and committed. A relationship, even a fake one, would take the pressure off." Emma's mind raced. Part of her wanted to refuse, to maintain her dignity and walk away from this whole mess. But another part of her, the part that was still raw and bleeding from Ryan's betrayal, wanted revenge. She wanted something other than the crushing pain in her chest. She walked aimlessly down the street, not knowing where she was going. Her phone buzzed constantly with calls from Ryan, Jessica, and her parents, but she ignored them all. How could she face anyone right now? How could she explain that her perfect life had been a lie? After walking for what felt like hours, Emma found herself at a small park overlooking the city. She sat on a bench, shivering in her thin coat, and finally let herself cry. Great, heaving sobs that made her whole body shake. "Rough night?" Emma jumped at the sound of a man's voice. She looked up to see a tall figure standing a few feet away, hands in the pockets of an expensive black coat. Even in her distressed state, she couldn't help but notice how striking he was. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through her. "I'm sorry," she said, wiping her tears hastily. "I didn't realize anyone else was here." "Don't apologize," the man said, moving closer. "Mind if I sit? You look like you could use some company. Or maybe just someone to sit nearby while you process whatever happened." Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. The man sat on the other end of the bench, giving her space but remaining close enough that she felt oddly comforted by his presence. "I'm Adrian," he said after a moment. "Adrian Stone." Emma's head snapped up. Adrian Stone. She had heard that name before. He was one of the wealthiest men in the city, a billionaire who had built his fortune in technology and real estate. What was he doing in a random park at 11 o'clock at night? "Emma Martinez," she replied quietly. "And yes, it's been a very rough night. An unexpected proposal." Adrian studied her for a moment. "Let me guess. man trouble? Emma let out a bitter laugh. Is it that obvious? The wedding dress, the tears, the running away from what I assume was some kind of celebration. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. He paused. Want to talk about? Then she froze. Ryan's voice was unmistakable. I know, baby. I know this is complicated, but we have to be careful. Just a few more months until the wedding, and then we can figure out how to make this work. A few more months, a woman's voice replied, trembling with emotion. Ryan, I can't keep doing this. Watching you with her, pretending I don't exist. You said you loved me. Emma's heart stopped. She knew that voice. It was Sarah Chen, her assistant at the design firm. The girl she had mentored for the past 2 years. The girl she had trusted completely. Sarah, please understand, Ryan continued. Emma's father is investing $2 million in my startup. I can't just walk away from that. Once the money is secured and the company is stable, I promise we'll be together. Emma felt like the ground was crumbling beneath her feet. All the air left her lungs. Her hands trembled as she gripped the edge of a planter for support. This couldn't be happening. Not tonight. Not ever. So you're just using her? Sarah asked, her voice breaking. For her father's money? It's not like that, Ryan said quickly. I care about Emma, I do. But what we have, Sarah, it's different. It's real. You're the one I want to be with. You have to believe me. Emma couldn't listen anymore. Tears streamed down her face as she turned and ran back toward the ballroom, her heels clicking loudly on the stone terrace. She heard Ryan call her name, but she didn't stop. She couldn't face him. Not yet. Not while her heart was breaking into a million pieces. The escape. Emma pushed through the ballroom, ignoring the confused looks from guests. Jessica caught her arm. Emma, what's wrong? What happened? I need to leave, Emma choked out, her voice barely a whisper. I need to get out of here. Now. Without waiting for a response, Emma grabbed her coat and purse from the coat check and rushed out of the hotel. The cold December air hit her like a slap, but she welcomed it. She needed to feel so. The perfect life shattered. Emma Martinez stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the delicate diamond necklace that sparkled against her collarbone. Tonight was supposed to be magical. Her engagement party was in full swing downstairs, with 200 guests celebrating her upcoming wedding to Ryan Cooper, the man she had loved for 5 years. The cream-colored dress hugged her figure perfectly, and her dark hair fell in elegant waves down her back. At 28, Emma had everything she had ever dreamed of: a successful career as an interior designer, a beautiful apartment in the heart of the city, and a fiancé who was charming, successful, and completely devoted to her. Or so she thought. Emma. Everyone is asking for you, her best friend Jessica called from the hallway. You need to come down and give your speech. Coming. Emma replied, taking one last look in the mirror. She smiled at her reflection, her heart full of hope and excitement for the future. As she walked down the grand staircase of the hotel ballroom, Emma's eyes searched for Ryan. The party was magnificent, with crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over the elegant crowd. White roses and candles decorated every table, and soft music filled the air. But Ryan was nowhere to be seen. A devastating discovery. Has anyone seen Ryan? Emma asked Jessica, who was sipping champagne near the bar. Jessica's expression turned uncomfortable. I think I saw him go toward the garden terrace about 15 minutes ago. Something in her friend's tone made Emma's stomach twist with worry. She made her way through the crowd, smiling politely at guests who congratulated her, until she reached the glass doors leading to the outdoor terrace. The December air was cold, but Emma barely noticed as she stepped outside. The terrace was decorated with twinkling lights and heated lamps, creating intimate spaces among the greenery. She heard voices coming from behind a tall hedge and moved toward them. The perfect life shattered. Emma Martinez stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the delicate diamond necklace that sparkled against her collarbone. Tonight was supposed to be magical. Her engagement party was in full swing downstairs, with 200 guests celebrating her upcoming wedding to Ryan Cooper, the man she had loved for 5 years. The cream-colored dress hugged her figure perfectly, and her dark hair fell in elegant waves down her back. At 28, Emma had everything she had ever dreamed of: a successful career as an interior designer, a beautiful apartment in the heart of the city, and a fiancé who was charming, successful, and completely devoted to her. Or so she thought. "Emma. Everyone is asking for you," her best friend Jessica called from the hallway. "You need to come down and give your speech." "Coming," Emma replied, taking one last look in the mirror. She smiled at her reflection, her heart full of hope and excitement for the future. As she walked down the grand staircase of the hotel ballroom, Emma's eyes searched for Ryan. The party was magnificent, with crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over the elegant crowd. White roses and candles decorated every table, and soft music filled the air. But Ryan was nowhere to be seen. A devastating discovery. "Has anyone seen Ryan?" Emma asked Jessica, who was sipping champagne near the bar. Jessica's expression turned uncomfortable. I think I saw him go toward the garden terrace about 15 minutes ago." Something in her friend's tone made Emma's stomach twist with worry. She made her way through the crowd, smiling politely at guests who congratulated her, until she reached the glass doors leading to the outdoor terrace. The December air was cold, but Emma barely noticed as she stepped outside. The terrace was decorated with twinkling lights and heated lamps, creating intimate spaces among the greenery. She heard voices coming from behind a tall hedge and moved toward them.